Welcome to the Money and Flow podcast, where cash and vinyasa flows meet. This is the first podcast that talks about how your money stories, through looking at your ancestral lens, can help activate your financial wellness plan. And without further ado, your host, Eugenie George. All right, welcome to the Money and Flow podcast. This is your host, Eugenie George. It has been 4 solid months that I have not been on air. I haven't said that much. A lot's been going on. 1, I finished the book, Our Money Stories. 2, I had my WTF moments. I finished my MBA, which is great. But then that's when you start having your tiny furniture moments and you start questioning life and what's the purpose of living. So I started doing all of this woo-woo stuff. I had a shaman, and that was weird. I also got back into yoga, which was also weird. I went to church a couple times. That was a little interesting. And so, yeah, I just lived my life in the oddest way, and it worked out for a bit, and now I'm back to the grind. So for some of y'all who have been listening, I have been finishing my CFP certification. So that means becoming a certified financial planner. This is also partially why I don't really give that much financial advice, because I personally feel like I want to tell more of a story for folks and let them get there instead of me saying, this is what you need to do. Listen, y'all got to get it together. Can't do that. So for the purpose of today's podcast, we're going to talk about activating your financial wellness plan. Okay? People talk about it. They say you need one. But what is it exactly? We're going to talk about that soon. If you have not left a review, or if you just want to say, hey, you can leave a review on iTunes, or you can email us at moneyandflowpodcast@gmail.com. All right? So let's get into the show. All right, so this segment we're going to call the Broke Diaries. And the reason why I decided to do the Broke Diaries was because I think a lot of people, when they're listening to financial podcasts, it's always about this. This is what you need to do. This is how you need to spend your money, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff's good, but I think we should always go back to those humbler moments. Those moments where you start eating top ramen, even though you know it's not good. The moment where you start actually putting on foot lotion on your face because you don't have that much money. So we're going to talk about some Broke Diaries today, and I want it to be more of a safe space just because everybody's going through stuff. Everyone has money problems. It's very normal. Some people have a better grasp on them, or some people don't. So let's dive into it. All right, so the first story that I want to talk to y'all is super, super embarrassing, but I think this is going to be a really good intro to our financial wellness. So when I don't even know what age I was. I feel like I was really young. I think I was around 20. I'm just trying to put the pieces together. But I was going through a crazy, crazy time. It was right before the recession. I had very low standards for myself, and the fact that I had low standards for myself, I remember dating a guy who had fleas in his room, and his bed was not really fully a bed. I believe it was a recycled bed, and his frame was milk crates. Now, for you, you're thinking, okay, that's like college, haha, cool. It was pretty bad. I mean, holding up having 4 milk crates for your bed frame is pretty bad, considering it only costs like probably $30 to get a bed frame from IKEA. It really isn't that expensive. This is from someone who just went to IKEA and saw the cheapest bed, and the bed frame was around $40. So I think having those experiences, at first I thought, I was like, oh, that's super cute. Like, yeah, he doesn't have a bed. He's just being artistic. No. That was a clear red flag that he himself didn't value what he wanted. Or he could have said he was a minimalist, but he wasn't, because he had so much crap in his bedroom. And I used to think that was cute. And that is chapter 1 of the Broke Diaries. All right. If you are dating someone, or if that's you who thinks it's artistic to have like a milk crate table, okay, I get it. You're going through some stuff. But we have this magical place called Goodwill. We have this magical place called refurbishing. We have this magical place called even Walmart. Even if you don't morally believe in Walmart, you still gotta take care of yourself. And I dated that person for a while, okay? And it was bad because I thought that was cute. All right? Just like when I didn't have that much money and I was super stressed out about my face for some reason. I was like breaking out, and this is going to be super gross, so we're going to get there and then we're going to go right into our financial wellness plan. I remember opening up that lotion, putting it on my face, and recognizing that it wasn't lotion for your feet and it wasn't lotion for your body, but it was lotion for your butt. And you know what? I used it and it was gross. And that's how cheap I was. It was literally around the same time that I was dating this person. So it really gave me an aha moment when I was kind of like looking back at my journals. I said, okay, I gotta include this Broke Diary stuff because this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. So I have to talk about it. But now we're going to jump into our financial wellness plan because I want you to feel fully fulfilled in your life. And I want us to talk about your financial wellness plan because that's what matters the most. All right, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the Broke Diaries. Or getting there. We're going to tell some embarrassing stories. But let's talk about you because you matter the most. And what I want to talk about is your financial wellness plan. We're going to talk about what is it, what can you do, how can it help you with your life. And then also we're going to talk about just really small steps that you could take even today to activate your financial wellness plan. So what is financial wellness? Well, if you Google it, look at anything, it just says financial wellness means that you are financially stable, that you know where your financial health stands. What we now know is that that's a problem because no one fully knows what it means to be stable. There are a couple of rules that people say that we should apply and follow. One should be have an emergency fund. 2, people say take care of your debts. But from what we've learned is that everybody's financial health is so specialized. And what I talk a lot about in the book is that we really should start taking your financial health and we should actually look at your ancestry and figure out what the heck is going on with your family and how did they react to money? How did they feel about money or lack of money? And so a lot of the things that we've learned have been from our friends, our families. So we have to actually do this individualized take where we are looking at ourselves, looking at our money, and kind of looking at it in a holistic view. And a lot of people say, yeah, you need a holistic financial wellness plan, but people don't know how to get there. All right. And that makes sense because one, that term means a lot and it means different things for different people. But what the other thing that you have to pay attention to is that most people don't really include the wellness side to your financial wellness plan. Most people just look at the numbers, and unfortunately, only looking at risk analysis is not going to help you understand if someone is well and how much money would it take for them to get to that wellness plan. So for the purpose of my book, I just kept asking myself, well, what does it look like to you to be financially well? What does it mean for me to be financially well? And those were kind of the questions that I asked myself first, because I had to realize that it wasn't just about me. It was about my entire environment. So from there, what I did was I actually looked at wellness, and I looked at the wellness bubble, and I looked at what does it mean to be financially well. Well, we actually have to create these pillars, and we have to kind of break some more things down. So the wellness pillars are your physical, your social, your emotional, your occupational, your financial, your spiritual, your intellectual, and your environmental. So there's so many parts of you. Physically, what are you doing? Do you walk every day? Do you stay at home? How does that affect your money? That has a huge impact on how you use your money. 2, social. How do you spend your social life? What, if you're single, are you spending a lot of money eating out to feel like you belong? Understanding what your social patterns are will definitely help you understand your financial wellness. All right? That's actually the biggest part. So I'm at the point where currently I'm experiencing some FOMO because everyone I know is getting married, and I'm in my 30s. And I feel like, am I missing out on something? It happens. It's very normal. And that is a huge social thing. Should I get married right now? Should I seriously think about kids? I'm in my younger 30s, so that happens literally every year when I get an invitation that says save the date. And I really struggle with it. I really struggle with the idea of marriage. I really struggle with forcing myself to get married. I really struggle with the person that I'm in a relationship with. Should I be married with them right now? Like, there's a lot of pressure, and it is sometimes very confusing. But that social pressure means a lot. Like, when you get married, how much does that cost? That costs a lot. Most people are getting married. The average cost of weddings, I know in Philly it's $20,000. I know in New York, just across the way, it's $30,000. Like, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of social expectation. Not that I'm saying don't do it or do it. Do it. It's something that you have to think about. How are you spending your money socially? Next, we have to think about our emotional. If you're dealing with your mental health, that's going to clearly spiral into your money. I always say, if you know where your emotions are, you know how much money you're going to spend. So for instance, once I finished my MBA, I was going through a lot because I knew I had more schooling to do. I was very stressed, and I got super depressed simply because once you're done with a task, I didn't congratulate myself. I didn't really celebrate. I went home. That was stressful because I was so burnt out that I was sick, and that affected my whole trip to California. So my emotional state wasn't even ready to even look at my finances. And you know what happened? I avoided them, and my credit score dropped dramatically because I forgot a bill. And so thinking about your emotional well-being plays a huge role into how you're spending and what it means to be financially well. Particularly if you're living with a mental illness, that's going to affect your money. Are you paying for meds? Are you going to therapy? Like, a lot of that stuff is something we really need to think about and not separate. Occupational. I think this is the hardest one because I think we put so much focus on the occupational or the career that we forget who we are. So I don't really want to talk too much about it, but how much we're making clearly has a huge effect on our money. But then also, if you have like a terrible boss or someone that doesn't agree with your values, or if your values aren't aligned with somebody else's, clearly that's going to affect how you spend your money. I remember working at this job, and it was very short-lived, but we had to go to happy hours. And if you didn't go to happy hours, it was crazy. It was something that was very encouraged. It was something that I didn't really like doing that much. I mean, I had gotten used to get drunk a lot when I was younger, but it just wasn't really my vibe. But if you didn't get involved with that, then it almost seemed like you weren't really a part of the party. And because I normally have a serious looking face, I smile all the time, but I always look like I'm thinking. I had to go, I felt like I had to go to these events because if I didn't go, then people would think I was standoffish. And if I did go, then people would think I was cool, like, okay, let's do this karaoke bar, let's do this. So I had to bring that to the table. And that was really overwhelming for me. And it also really made me feel, excuse me, less connected to the job because I felt like I was forced to do these things. In your financial, as we know, write it down. We'll talk about more tips about that. But here, let's get to the next pillar. We're 3 pillars away. We've talked about the physical, we talked about the social, emotion, occupational, financial. Now let's get to the spiritual side. Ooh, baby Jesus, listen to this. This chapter for our money stories was the hardest chapter to write simply because when you talk about people's spirituality, we're taught to be humble, but then when we're taught to be humble, we're asked to spend money at our church. So we really have to think about our place of practice or not practice, how we get our sense of awe or how we get our sense of feeling like something is bigger than ourselves. We really have to start thinking about that. And I talk a lot about that in the book. I talk about spending money on tithes and offering. And from spending money on the tithes and offering, I always felt so compelled to be able to receive money. Like God was going to give me money, but I really wasn't doing the work to understand how my money can work for me. So that was a big aha moment. And I'll talk a lot more about that on the spiritual side. Intellectual. Are you reading books about money? Are you stimulating your mind? Are you learning about your passion? Are you an artist, an illustrator, and you're reading books to enhance your illustrations? Like, really think about how are you spending your time growing your brain. It doesn't even mean that you're reading a book. What if you were a carpenter? I absolutely love the show Fixer Upper because I love the games. I mean, I don't know why I like them so much, but I love them. And they are always constantly intellectually stimulating themselves because they're learning a new trade. They're learning a new house. They're building a new skill set. They're flipping another house. Like, all of these things are so important. And then the last is environmental. Like, what are you doing in your entire environment? Like, what are you doing to make sure that your environment is well? I just talked about the Broke Diaries, and that is really important. Like, I mean, yeah, some people might have laughed at it because it was ridiculous, but really thinking about your space, your environment, what are you doing? How are you eating certain foods? And I say this because I just had Cheetos. And you know what? I strongly regret eating the Cheetos, but I did have them, and I really thought, like, wow, this is really hurting the environment, and it's hurting my body, okay? But yeah, so that's kind of like something that you should think about when you're thinking about what does it mean to be financially well. Now, we all cannot do everything all at once. That seems unrealistic, but it is important to start looking at these 8 pillars of wellness and start asking yourself, is any one of these pillars out of whack? Like, so out of whack that I need help with that. Also, another one activity that you can do is look at your pillars of wellness and start ranking them, like from 0 to 5, from 0 to 10. Where do I rank in my pillars of wellness? one of the things that you can do is you can look at your bank statements and you can actually highlight, I know this is for more of the artsy people or a circle, all the purchases that represent your wellness pillars, right? So occupational, I always like to think like gas is a part of occupational, okay? So I have to get to one place to the other. That's a part of my occupation. 2, my social life. I look at my restaurant. My restaurant will highlight and represent me being social with my friends. So kind of like look at all the wellness pillars from there and kind of make assumptions of, oh, well, I'm spending way too much money on my social, or I'm not spending any money on my intellectual side. So really start to think about where are you and what does it mean to be financially well. Now, the next podcast, we're going to talk about what are the steps of financial wellness, and then also we're going to talk about what's missing from the financial wellness conversation. But other than that, that's about it. Super excited to be back. We're going to start being back. I'm going to try to make it as consistent as possible every week. This podcast is coming out on Friday, but from now on, it'll be out on Thursdays. And just love you guys. I'm just so happy that more people are listening, which is pretty cool. And if you have any questions, please email us at moneyandflowpodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet me, which is eugenegeorge.com, or anything. Just reach out. Love to read emails. Love to talk about what's next in your financial wellness plan. I'm just so excited about season 3, and I will talk to you soon. Love ya.